A very good afternoon to all of you. So, good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Jai Hind. Today, I'm here before you again with this next session of our complete NCERT, Indian Polity, through all NCERT series in this session. Now, today in this session, we would start off with second chapter of class 8th NCERT. Now, this is something that is fundamental to our Indian constitution. And now we would be discussing this topic of secularism in the Indian way. Okay. So, good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Jai Hind. I hope each one of you are doing great. So, all of you who have joined me now in this session, I welcome each one of you. And in today's session, we would be discussing this very, very important topic of secularism. Okay. Now, what does secularism means and what essentially is the significance of secularism to the Indian constitution? Okay. So, a very good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Jai Hind. I hope all of you are doing great. Chaliye. So, when we start off with this topic, okay, so first and foremost, all of you who have joined me now in this session, I welcome each one of you here. Okay, so before starting off with this session, do let me know, am I audible loud and clear? And how essentially all of you have been doing? How is your preparation going on around the exam? Do let me know in the comment section. And then we would start off with this session. Now, this topic is very important. And essentially, this topic has got some very direct questions in the prelims as well as in the mains general studies paper 2. So, this topic will let you understand the balance between the state, that is the government, and the religion. And why understanding this topic is important? Because this topic, okay, is absolutely central to India's ethos of the Indian constitution, the ethos of Indian society. And this topic does not have just academic relevance, it is also about understanding the ultimate soul and the democratic principles of the Indian constitution. Clear? Chaliye. So let us start off with this topic, and in this topic we will be discussing various things. We will see what essentially is the history, what is behind evolution of this concept of secularism. Is it something that has evolved just over a period of some decades or around some 3-4 decades? But we will also understand that this is something that is lying fundamentally behind the establishment of the ideals of governance in our country. Clear? So, a very good afternoon to all of you. Chaliye. So, now when we start off with this topic, okay, today we will be doing this topic, chapter 2, understanding secularism. Okay. Now, starting off with this concept, starting off with these ideas, now, as a student, whenever you start studying, you come across various ideals of constitution. Okay. Now, if I have to make direct relevance, direct reference to the Indian constitution, then essentially for all of you, the secularism or right to religious freedom in India is only these things. Okay. So, first I'll tell you, instead of going from very scratch, I'll take our reverse approach for you to make you understand this. Now, when we talk about the Indian Constitution, Article 25 to 28, they talk in detail about the religious freedom in India. Okay. But do you know that our constitution is so nicely defined that it does not only give you the liberty to take up any religious faith or belief, but it also gives you the power to deny any other religion, okay, any other faith that is forced upon you. Clear? So, if we just have to take the Article 25, it says every person has the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate the religion. Clear? Now, this term propagation means to share the faith and not to convert by force, fraud, or inducement. Okay. So, first I'll tell you the constitutional relevance, and then I'll talk you, then I'll discuss how our constitution ensures secularity. Okay. So, first understand one thing. This term secular, it not only means the religious freedom, it basically talks about a simple principle, which is separating the state from religion. Okay. Now, during the freedom movement, also, we have seen that there were freedom fighters, there were scholars who fought for the concept of theosophy. Okay. The leaders fought that the state must be separated from religion. Okay. The religion or the government, they must not be interrelated, they must not be influenced by each other. Okay. So, first and foremost, you need to understand what does this term secular means. Okay. So, it means that the state is separated from religion. Okay. But the Indian secularism is not a very strict secularism. Okay. But it ensures that the state maintains a safe distance from the religion. Clear? So, it clearly says that the state does not have, okay, any religious bias. Okay. The state does not function or does not have any basis of religion. Clear? Now, in India, a secular person, if you call somebody a secular, what does it mean? Okay, you might have heard of this term various times. Okay, people might boast about themselves that we are seculars. Okay, so what does this term secular means if we talk about an individual? Okay, first and foremost, understand one thing, that this term secular, okay, or an individual who has been termed secular, okay, is one who does not have his moral values related to only one religion. Clear? A secular person might be following a single religion, okay, might be following the faith, might be following rituals of one religion, but his or her morality is not just limited to one religion. That is the essence of secularism. Okay. If the values of an individual are first not based upon just the practices of one religion, okay, but they are the product of rational thinking. Okay. So, where for an individual the ideals of humanity comes before a specific religion, that individual can be termed secular. Now, this does not mean that an individual has to disobey some religion, disobey his own religion. This is not the case. Clear? So, secularism basically means the separation of religion from political, economic, social, and cultural aspects of life. Okay. And religion should only be considered as a purely private matter. Okay. So, this is how a term the term secularism can be defined. Okay, but if a term secularism says that religion is purely a private matter, religion is purely a personal matter, okay, does it mean that an individual cannot show off the religion? Okay, a person cannot publicly practice his religion? No, that is not the case. So beauty of Indian constitution is that the constitution emphasizes the disassociation of the state, the disassociation of the government from one religion, and it provides the full religious freedom to all of its citizens and the tolerance towards all religion. Clear? So this is why in India, if we have to talk about equality, okay, then the equality is essentially in the religious aspects as well. Clear? Now, when we just take up these principles of what does these principles say, okay, now it says that every person may freely profess whatever is your faith, okay, whatever you believe, okay, if you want to adopt one religious faith or belief, then just remember you can freely do so, okay, you can freely practice the essence of every religion, whatever your religion says, okay. Now in this topic of NCERT also, we will be discussing one very important aspect, okay. We will see various examples as to how, okay, people have been allowed to practice their religion, okay. Now just giving you an example, you might have seen any Sikh traveling in India, okay. Now if you travel on a two-wheeler, okay, every individual has to obey the traffic rules and have to wear a helmet. But you might have seen Sikh citizens traveling without wearing a helmet. Okay. Now it is their right. Okay. And it cannot be imposed over them because the Sikh citizens who wear a turban or a pagdi, okay, if this exception has been made for them that they need not wear the helmet while driving a two-wheeler, okay. Also giving you an example, if you see a Sikh traveling anywhere, you might have seen the Sikh carrying a small kripan with them, okay. Now that kripan is essentially part of the mandatory part of their them have to follow their religious rituals. In their religion, it says that 5 Ks are compulsory to be followed, and one of them is kripan. Okay, the previous example that I gave you about the turban is another K, kesh, hairs. Okay, so you might have seen Sikh traveling anywhere in the country and carrying a small kripan with them. Okay, now that they are allowed to carry kripans at almost all places. Now, why this is so? Because that is an essential part of their religious belief. Okay, they are part of their religious rituals that they have to carry, and thus nobody can stop them from carrying. Clear? Now, it also says to propagate religion. Okay, now propagation of religion essentially means that you can freely talk about the pros of your religion, you can freely publicize your religion, okay, you can encourage others to follow your religious belief, but you cannot force somebody to follow your religion. You cannot by force convert somebody into your own religion, okay. So just understand that this article 25, okay, it gives you a freedom of conscience, okay. So freedom of conscience says that you can publicly follow any religion, okay, and it also gives you the power or the right to reject the other religion as well. Clear? So you do have this fundamental right of rejecting any other religion. Nobody by force can by fraud or by force make you follow some other religion. Clear? So somebody cannot make you convert your religion. So it is your fundamental right. Okay, and how does I mean that nobody can force you? If somebody forces you, you have the liberty to even approach the Supreme Court of the country. Clear? But does this single principle ensures secularism in India? No. Next comes the right to manage religious affairs. Okay, so we had seen that Article 25 was available to an individual. Okay. Now Article 26 is available to a group. Okay. Now this fundamental right is available to a group. Okay. A denomination, a group of people may run institutions, manage its own affairs in matters of religion, and own and administer property. Okay, so now just see the beauty. If an individual or a group, they have been managing their religious practices through an institution, okay, then the right to have property becomes a fundamental right for them. Okay, nobody by force can make you leave the place, make you leave the property. Clear? So just remember one thing, that if a group runs an institution, manage its own religion affairs, and own and administer property, then property management can only be regulated by the law. Okay, so you might have seen at various places that while you travel in India, you might be seeing that there are lands being managed by religious groups. Okay, so our constitution ensures them that they have this right. In order to manage their religious affairs, they are entitled to hold land. Clear? And this right to property is available to them. Okay? So, as like giving you an example, you might have seen the Golden Temple. Okay, lakhs of visitors are coming to it. It is one amongst the holiest places, okay, for Sikh in India. But it is not something that is owned by the government, owned by the state. Okay, it belongs to a group. Okay, the Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee. Okay, now essentially you will see that even when people have been visiting, the state has been providing security, but it is something that does not belong to the state. It is something that does not belong to the government. It belongs to those people who have that mindset, the group of those people who are managing the religious affairs of their own religion. Clear? So this is how these practices are made relevant in the country. Next comes Article 27. Now, no tax for a religion. Now, no one can be taxed to promote a particular religion. Okay, so if you are following something, if you are undertaking a religious practices, or you are acknowledging the religious rituals, then even if you do it publicly, the government cannot impose a faith upon you. Okay, during previously we had seen that during the times, okay, of the erstwhile Muslim rulers, when they were ruling the country, there was a tax called jizya imposed upon non-Muslims. Okay, but in the current situation, there it is nowhere found. Okay, nothing similar to that tax of jizya is seen. So the state ensures that no tax can be taken up for a religion. Okay, but it simultaneously allows that a fees can be levied, okay, for a secular service to a religious institution is allowed. Okay, now what how do I call something a fees? Now suppose you are willing to travel, okay, to a religious site, okay, or a pilgrimage, and then somebody gives you an idea that if you are going to your pilgrimage, it is essential to your right to practice your own religion. So you might have an idea that the government must ensure free travel for me, the government must ensure all facilities for me, and the government must facilitate my travel to that pilgrimage. But that is not the case. Okay, a government, why should a government support you? Okay, the government does not talk about only one religion. So in case you are going for a pilgrimage, okay, the government is facilitating your travel by taking a small amount. So that small amount is not a tax upon your religious pilgrimage, but it is essentially a fees that has been levied upon you to provide you with the services so that you can undertake your pilgrimage. Clear? So remember one thing, this Article 27 ensures that no tax can be taken up, but a fees can be taken up to ensure that you freely undertake your religious endeavors. Okay. Lastly, it is the Article 28. It says no religious instruction in the state schools. Okay, so no religious instruction in institutions wholly funded by the state. Aided or recognized schools may allow it only upon voluntary basis. Okay, so if you are studying in any government school or in government institution, okay, so in that situation, one religion on or one religious practices, one religious instruction cannot be made mandatory upon you. Okay, there may be various practices wherein anything related to some other religion might be existing, but it does not mean that every candidate, irrespective of their religion, have to follow it mandatorily. Clear? So just remember that in our constitution, the religious instructions, okay, cannot be made mandatory in the institutions wholly maintained by the state, by the government. Clear? So this is the beauty that our Indian constitution allows. Okay, but the question comes up is that the secular traditions in the Indian country, Indian constitution, or in India have come up from where? Okay, now many students are confused at times. Now, whenever I am teaching polity to students, some students ask a very simple question from me. Okay, sometimes students says that, sir, in the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, the term secular was added to the preamble. Okay, now I have a question for all of you. Okay, all of you who are part of this session, tell me one thing in brief, that this term secular, okay, so we had the three terms added to a preamble: socialist, secular, and integrity. These three terms were added to the preamble in 1976. What does it mean? It means that was India a non-secular state before 1976? Did India become secular only in 1976? What does it mean? According to you, what essentially is the basis of this? What was the status of secularism? On one hand, we have been saying that the concept secularism, okay, is part of the basic structure of the constitution, which was introduced by Keshwanand Bharti case. But on the other hand, you say that the term secular was added in 1976 to the preamble. What does it mean? Can anyone tell me this? I wanted to see how much clarity you guys have on this. Do let me know in the comment section. Okay. So just remember one thing. The term secular became the part of this basic structure. Okay, means this basic structure is non-amendable. Okay, but on the other hand, the question is that it was added. Just remember that preamble is preface or introduction to the Indian Constitution. Okay, India was secular from the day the Constitution was implemented in this country. Okay, the term secular was only added to its introduction in 40 by this 42nd Amendment Act. Clear? So this principle of secularism, okay, have existed since the inception of the Indian Constitution. It is just they became part of the definition in 1976. So you have to be very clear. It is not the case that India became secular only in 1976. India had been secular since then. Okay, and still, if you understand one thing, okay, if we talk about the history of secularism, secularism has been talked about extensively. Okay, in the ancient India, there was the religious practices around Hinduism. Okay, the Sanatan Dharma, and it basically allowed to develop as a holistic religion, and it welcomed the spiritual traditions of all religions. Okay, so this is the reason we have seen evolution of religions like Jainism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity. They have also been developing in this country. Clear? So it welcomed different spiritual traditions and integrated them into the mainstream. Okay, we have seen the development of Vedas taking place, interpretations of the Upanishads taking place, okay, and the Puran taking place. Clear? Now, all of these they talk about the plurality of Hinduism. Clear? The religious plurality of Hinduism. Okay, we have seen in the ancient history, we have seen the ruler Ashoka. Okay, now this ruler Ashoka, who was a great emperor, okay, now somewhere around the 3rd century BC, he made it very clear that the state, the government would not prosecute any religious sect. Okay, Ashoka has also mentioned the same in the 12th Rock Edict also. Okay, in the 12th Rock Edict, Ashoka has made an appeal not only for the toleration of religion sect, but also to develop a spirit of respect towards other religion. Okay, and this is the reason why we have seen that even after the advent of Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Islam, Christianity, okay, the religious toleration and coexistence of different faiths have been seen. Okay, in medieval history, we have seen the Sufi and Bhakti movements. Okay, and they were the ones that had allowed the creation of the bonds of people. Okay, various communities coming together with love and peace. So these all things have been seen in the country. Okay, we have seen Emperor Akbar abolishing jizya. Okay, the development of Deen-e-Ilahi. So we have seen that secular principles have always been encouraged in the country. Clear? So Indian secularism or the Indian concept of secularism, okay, is essentially based upon the Vedic concept of dharma nirpekshta. Okay, so this is the term dharma nirpekshta, okay, which essentially talks about how the secularism has to be practiced in our country. Clear? So this dharma nirpekshta means indifference of state to every religion. Okay. Now the Indian model of secularism, okay, or the model of secularism adopted by the Western societies is slightly different. Okay. The Indian model of secularism, okay, is essentially maintaining a safer distance. Clear? Now, Indian model of secularism is based upon the concept of Sarva Dharma Sambhav, okay, which means that the destination of paths followed by all religion is the same, though the path may be different. Clear? So it essentially talks about equal respect to all religion. Even if we talk about the Gandhian ideals, okay, we have seen that scholars like Vivekananda, Gandhi ji, okay, they have also talked about positive secularism. Clear? So positive secularism has been an underlying principle, ethos of the Indian culture. Okay, so just remember one thing, that India does not have an official state religion. Okay, and we have seen that there have been various personal laws for marriage, divorce, inheritance, alimony. So keeping in mind the faith of an individual, all of these things have been created in the country. Clear? So this is how all of you must understand that what does the Indian secularism means. Okay, previously we have talked about how the term secular has been added. Okay, now lately if we move ahead, okay, another question comes up. Okay, many students at times ask, okay, that sir, is this Indian secularism or the concept of religious freedom only mentioned under article 25 to 28? Okay, now this is again a question. Okay, is this, are these ideals of secularism only part of article 25 to 28? But what essentially we have seen is that if we talk about secularism, the Indian constitution talks about secularism in the preamble. Okay, previously we have seen that how 42nd Amendment Act ensured that the term secular, word secular, is added to the preamble. Okay, we have seen the term secularism, okay, being made part of the fundamental rights other than Article 25 to 28. We have seen Article 14. Article 14 talking about secularism. ठीक? So Article 14 grants equality before law and equal protection of laws for all. Clear? So this is again something that talks about equality, meanwhile ignoring the religion as the basis. Clear? Now we have seen the Article 15 also. Okay, this Article 15 enlarges the concept of secularism, and this gives the widest possible connotation to this term. Okay, it prohibits the discrimination on the basis of religion in India. Clear? So we have seen that it is not just one thing that reflects the secular character of the Indians or the Indian constitution. There are multiple features. It is plurality of the concept that lies in the Indian constitution. Okay, then we have seen concepts under Article 16 of the constitution. Now this Article 16, it guarantees equality of opportunity to all citizens in matter of public employment, and in this public employment again they reiterate that there cannot be any discrimination on the basis of religion. Clear? So religion has been made a factor in this. Clear? Then we have seen Article 25 to 28. We have already seen these articles. Clear? That how these articles ensure religious freedom. Clear? Then we do see Article 29 and Article 30. Now, these Article 29 and 30, they provide cultural and educational rights to minorities. Now, why these can also be considered an upholding principle? Because in India, minorities have been categorized on the basis of religion as well as on the basis of language. Clear? So just understand that Article 29 and 30 have also been the underlying principles. Clear? Not just Article 29, 30, we have got 51A. Okay, when we talk about this, we do understand the ideals around the Article 51A. Okay, which is the fundamental duties. So this is something that obliges that all citizens must promote harmony and a spirit of common brotherhood. Okay, common brotherhood with all those who belong to different and composite cultures. Clear? So we should understand one thing, that Indian secularism is not just limited to one thing. Okay, Indian secularism has been covered over vast extent. Clear? Chaliye. Now, when we move ahead, now I have made a strong foundation for you. Okay, you have understood what secularism means. Okay, now just imagine, now we start off with this topic. I'll just quickly wind up this topic, because majority of the concept what have been what the author have tried to understand, make you understand, I have already discussed that. Clear? Now, in India, we have seen that India is a land of diversities. Okay, you might have seen the attitude of people. Okay, ऋषभ जी पूछ रहे हैं, सर पॉलिटी 9 to 12th एंड लक्ष्मीकांत is sufficient? Yes, sufficient. Okay, yes, Rishabh ji, sufficient. But just try to understand that do not read the books only objectively. Also try to link up the concepts to greater principles, to higher principles like governance, like society, okay, like historic significance. Then only you will be able to write answers in the mains. Okay, chali. Now, when we start off with this topic, okay, then as a citizen, what do we expect? That there must be no discrimination, there must be justice beyond everything. Okay, so justice, okay, discrimination, all of these things, they basically rest on the assumption, okay, that everyone or everyone's religion is equal. Okay, all forms of domination related to the religion must end. Okay, and this is something which is the essence of secularism. Clear? Now, when we essentially talk about secularism, historically we have seen various examples. Okay, there have been various discriminations taking place, there have been various exclusions, persecutions taking place on the grounds of religion. Globally, we have seen the example of how Hitler had persecuted Jews. Okay, we have seen that how essentially in Saudi Arabia, okay, non-Muslims are not allowed to build temple, church, okay, and nor they can gather in public places for prayers. Clear? So there have been global examples around this. But the best part about India is that India, you will never ever find such things. Okay, clear? Now, Thor asks, sir, how to study the Constitution of India book? Thor, this is the Constitution of India that we are studying. Okay, instead of trying to read the bare Constitution, what we have been covering, that is more efficient, that will help you all. Okay, so I'll just take up all your doubts in the end. Let me just cover up the topic quickly. Okay, so I have given you these global examples. We have seen wherein the members of one community have been seeing either persecuting or discriminating against members of other religious communities. Okay, now these certain acts of discrimination, they take place more easily when one religion is given an official recognition by the state. Okay, So if we see that wherever, now if I have to take up a recent example, okay, now after the Citizenship Amendment Act in 2019, now various religious communities in Pakistan, okay, they were allowed to be given citizenship in India. Why? Because in Pakistan they were being persecuted. Now the question comes up that, sir, why they are being persecuting in Pakistan? So just remember one thing. If you go by the existence of Pakistan, it says the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Okay. So this is what the author tries to teach you through this topic. Okay. The act of discrimination takes place more easily when one religion is given official recognition by state as the at the expense of other religions. Okay. Even though nobody would want to be discriminated because their religion, okay, nor they want to be dominated by other religion. Okay. So the question comes up is that, can state discriminate against citizens in India on the basis of religion? Okay. And the clear answer to this is no. Now in India, the religious discriminations cannot take place. India allows its individuals to have the freedom to live by their religious beliefs and practices as they want it to be. Okay, so there is a concept of religious freedom for all. India has simultaneously adopted a strategy of separating the power of religion from the power of state. Okay, so secularism in India, it refers to separation of religion from the state. Okay, now question, people might all again come up with the question that why is it important to separate religion from the state? Okay, why religion and the government's governance cannot go together? Clear? Now, as we have been studying from class 6th NCERT, what is one thing that is most highlighted about India is India is a democratic country. Clear? So if India has to function democratically, then the religion has to be separated. Okay, if the ideals of secularism are not followed, then how the democratic ideals be upheld? If you provide other religion a power to dominate, then the democracy ends for the religions who are being dominated. Clear? So you will find that almost all countries of the world, okay, have people from different religious groups living. Okay, now in other countries you will see that if some group, some religion has the access to state power, then that majority religious group might be dominating the others. Okay, so it is important that in order to end the domination, the tyranny of the majority religion, then it is essential to provide equality to all religion and any sort of endorsement of one religion by the state. Okay, so any form of domination which is based on religion is in violation of the rights that a democratic society would guarantee. Okay, so the fundamental rights, okay, they ensure that no religion can dominate any other religion. Okay, another reason why it becomes important to separate religion from the state, okay, in a democratic country like India, is to understand that if we also need to protect the freedom of individuals to exit from their religion, okay, embrace another religion or have the freedom to interpret religious teachings differently. Okay, now when you have to understand this thing that as I've given you the right to reject, okay, the question comes up is, okay, that how essentially people can do so. Okay, so previously we have seen an example of untouchability. Okay, now in India, why untouchability or discrimination occurs? Primarily due to different caste. Okay, and the caste hierarchies, they have been existing not just in between different religions but in intra-religion as well. Okay, so we can understand one thing, that you take an example of every religion, any religion you example you take, you will find that inside the religion also there have been various discriminations. Okay, caste based discriminations, sect based discriminations, they have been existing. Clear? So if the state power, okay, goes to the hands of those who are in majority or who have the authority, okay, then it is something that others would try to adopt to save themselves. Clear? So understand one thing, okay, the religious practices or the members who have the control of state power, okay, they might force others to acknowledge one interpretation of the religion, and thus the freedom for religion would end for others. Okay, now question comes up is that what essentially does the Indian secularism say? Okay, now Indian secularism, it basically ensures that Indian state has to be secular. Okay, Indian state has to be study concept ji. Whatever doubt you have, please do not worry. Just let me wind up this session and I'll resolve all doubt of yours. Okay. Now, Indian secularism, what does it say? Okay, this Indian secularism, it ensures that in that as per the constitution, okay, the state would not support one religion. Okay, and what does it interpret? That one religious community does not dominate others. Okay, one cannot dominate others. Okay, some members do not dominate other members of the same religious community, so there cannot be inter community domination and also intra community. Clear? The state does not enforce any particular religion, nor it can take away the religious freedom of an individual. Clear? So the government by law cannot take up the religion from one individual. Clear? So Indian state, it basically works, okay, and it uses a strategy to distance itself from any religion. Okay, in India, it is not a country that is ruled by a religious group. Okay, nor India supports one religion. Clear? We have seen that the public spaces like the law courts, police stations, government schools, offices, okay, they never will promote only one religion. Clear? So that is the best part of the country, so that no other group feels dominated. Okay, no other group feels persecuted. Clear? Or suppressed. Clear? So we have seen that even in the schools, okay, you will find that no single religion is promoted. Okay, and in the government schools, as previously we have seen, as per Article 28, okay, there the government's policy ensures treatment of equal religious equality to all. Okay, government schools also, they cannot promote any one religion. Okay, neither in the morning prayers nor in their religious celebrations. Okay, but this rule is applicable only to the government, the public schools. The private schools, they can do so things as per their wishes. Clear? Secondly, the Indian secularism, it works to prevent any sort of domination through a strategy of non-interference. Clear? So, Indian constitution also ensures that in order to respect the sentiments of all religions, okay, it does not interfere with religious practices. Okay, the state has made certain exceptions for particular religious communities. Clear? So this is, again, you will see how I have given you an example how the Sikh citizens, it is not mandatory for them to wear helmets while riding a two-wheeler. They can carry their kripan with them. Clear? So this is the concept. Clear? Moreover, you can also understand that Indian secularism, it works to prevent the domination. Okay, and as previously we have seen about discriminations existing in the country, the Indian constitution ensures that nobody will dominate somebody else. Clear? So in order to prevent religion based exclusion and discrimination, okay, the Indian constitution has also banned practices like untouchability. Clear? The state will intervene in religion in order to end a social practice whatever it feels is discriminating and has been excluding others. Anything that has been violating fundamental rights. Clear? Along with this, the constitution, the laws also ensures that equal inheritance rights of the people are respected. So one hand you will see that in the country no religion is supported, but on the other hand the government or the state, the constitution ensures that the personal laws of all religions are acknowledged. Clear? So state will not intervene in the religion based personal laws of the communities. Clear? And this is the reason you have got personal laws of Hindus different, personal laws of Muslims different, personal laws of Christians different, Parsis different. Okay, and the state, even though the uniform civil code lies in the DPSP, but still the government walks on a very tight rope to ensure that the personal religious liberties are not exploited by the government. Clear? So this is how the principles have been highlighted. Clear? Now the interventions, whatever the interventions the state does, it is a form of support. Indian constitution ensures the right to religious communities to set up their own schools. It provides them with financial aids. Okay, there are no preferential treatment carried out. The government cannot spend its public money to only support one religious entity. It will do it for all religious entities. Clear? So this is the reason why Indian secularism is different from the democratic countries. Okay, if we take up an example of US, okay, the constitution of secular democratic countries in the other parts of the world is different. Okay, if we talk about US, okay, the first amendment of the US constitution, okay, the first amendment of the US constitution, it prohibits the legislature, it prohibits the lawmaking agency from making laws respecting an establishment of religion. Okay, so this first amendment, it ensures that the law, okay, must respect an establishment of religion. Clear? Moreover, it prohibits the free exercise of religion. Clear? Now you might be confused, what does this term establishment means? Clear? It means that legislature cannot declare any one religion as the official religion. Okay, nor they can give preference to one religion. Okay, so in USA, the separation between the state and the religion means neither the state nor the religion can interfere into each other's territory, can interfere into each other's working. Clear? So you can see that Indian secularism is efficiently different. Okay, so we have seen that unlike the strict separation between religion and state in the case of USA, in India, the state can intervene in religious affairs. Clear? So state can intervene in the religious affairs and state can ensure anything that encourages any form of discrimination. Clear? So Indian secularism, okay, essentially, okay, in this, even though the state is not strictly separate from religion, it maintains a distance from religion. Clear? It means that it can interfere in religion, okay, based upon the ideals of the constitution. In India, it is the constitution that is supreme. So keeping in mind the ideals of the Indian constitution, the state can interfere. Clear? So India is secular and works in various ways to ensure that there is no discrimination based upon religion. Clear? The Indian constitution has been guaranteeing fundamental rights. Okay, so essentially it ensures that there is no violation. Clear? So it also ensures that in India there are constitutional mechanisms to prevent any form of discrimination taking place. Okay, there are mechanisms in the country to ensure that if there are violations in the society, what action has to be taken. Clear? So this is how we have seen that in Indian state, okay, the practices which are made not just to promote a religion but to promote equality for all. Clear? Chaliye. So these are essentially the ideals. These are essentially the ideals around the secularism as it has been mentioned in India. Clear? Now, in case you have got any doubt, please do let me know. Now, study concept says, sir, I had not read Subhash Kashyap, Bayer Act, D.D. Basu, I had done only M. Lakshman, so it is important. Yes, it is sufficient study concept. देखिए, always remember one thing. Many students have this doubt that, sir, I have not read all the books of Indian polity as it has been mentioned by the toppers. So, do I need to worry? No. If you have read even only one book, okay, if you have even read some basics only, remember one thing, that read one book, then go through the PYQs. Okay. If you are able to understand one thing, that whatever you have read is sufficient for you to solve the answers in the previous year questions, okay, prelims as well as mains, then it is sufficient. Clear? So always remember that limited resources plus PYQ linkages is the key to crack exam. It is not that you have to read n number of books to clear the exam. Clear? Chaliye. Anyone else who has got any other doubt regarding preparation, do let me know. Okay. And do remember that for you only, where students are slightly confused about the resources, okay, we have this smart model of preparation. Okay, in this smart model of preparation, we provide you with structured classes. Now, why structured classes are important? Because to make sure that you do not study in an unstructured manner. Okay, what is unstructured manner? This is how you can see in the doubt section. Students have been asking that, sir, how many books I have to read for polity? Now, this is the confusion. Okay, read limited books, but clarity and PYQ linkages. Okay, so our smart model of preparation, it provides you with structured sessions, mentorship, okay, regular assessment, and then your introspection and revision based upon the assessment and the final tests. Clear? So the next GS foundation batches in our P2I courses, which are based upon the smart model of preparation, they are starting on 27th of July. Okay, and the prices for these courses are starting at rupees 11,999, but still you can use this code SRM Live to avail maximum discount. Okay, so please do not leave any stone unturned in your preparation. Make sure that you study in the best manner. Also, do join me in my Telegram channel, wherein I'll be sharing PDFs of all my current affairs sessions. Along with it, along with the current affairs sessions, I will share PDFs of my smart NCERT sessions as well. Clear? Chaliye. So this is all from my side today. I hope all of your doubts have been resolved. I hope all of you have understood the ideals of secularism and how the Indian constitution defines secularism in a different manner in comparison to the secularism as it has been mentioned globally. Clear? Chaliye. So I hope everything is clear to you. Chaliye. So this was all from my side today. We'll see you all in the next session.